So right now I'm digging out for the porch footings. I'm going to put sonotubes with Bigfoots, and I just hit bedrock, and it's only about a little less than 3 feet over there. So I'm going to put 3 piers here, 3 sonotubes with Bigfoots here, and you're supposed to be down to 4 feet from the bottom of the footing to the grade, but I'm only about 3 foot there, maybe not even. And then the second one will be about 3 foot, and then this one drops down. This one might be close to 4 feet, but that's solid bedrock right there. And the bedrock around here is like granite. It's really hard bedrock. You cannot even flake it. I guess we're gonna have to clean up the bedrock a little bit, and then we'll just pour right on top of them. So I only got about 2 hours of daylight left. Hopefully I can mix enough bags to put in here. I was going to bring my concrete mixer up for the skid steer, but it's just more trouble than it's worth. I only need to mix about 14 to 15 bags. I think we can get it done, but we're probably going to be in the dark doing it. But if I brought my skid steer mixer up, not only do I got to put it on the back of my truck, I got to unload it, and then when I'm done I got to clean it up. It's just not worth it for this like half a yard. If I was at home, then yeah, I would do that, but up here it's just not worth it. Plus that doesn't have any electronics for the auxiliary, so I would need to hook something up to that to do that, because you need to be able to open the chute as well as turn the drum, so you need to be able to control that, which is not the end of the world, but it's just another hour that I don't have. All right, so that was a lot of work. It's almost dark. It's dark enough for that light to turn on, and that's got a dusk to dawn sensor. So I took my 1-inch Makita Vibe there and hit this one, and as soon as I started to go down that tube, the whole thing just started to lift up. I don't know if that's because there's water in there. I don't know, but I was not happy about that. It shifted a little bit here and there. I tried to correct it the best I could, but I think it is about 1 inch high now. That's all right. We can always grind it down. I'm coming up with posts off of this, so it really doesn't matter actually, because I'm coming up with a 4x4 and I'm going to hang a beam from that. So really, if that's 1 inch high or 1 inch low, it really doesn't matter. It's really the alignment that matters, because these posts are going to carry through all the way to the roof. So I need them to be symmetrical with each other. But anyways, I've never really found a great way to backfill these before I pour, or even during the pour, or right after the pour. I found that waiting a couple days until they cure and then backfilling is the best, because otherwise little rocks here and there will knock it. So you could backfill it by hand right now, but I'm not doing that. So we got to leave right now, and I won't be back for at least a week or so. So when I get back, I'll backfill this. The weather's looking like it's going to warm up a little bit. It's looking like above freezing at night for the next week or so. So that's definitely a big change from low 20s at night like it's been. And of course, it's when we leave that it warms up, but whatever. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with it. It's as long as tonight it doesn't freeze, then it'll be fine. And so I guess I'll check back in with you guys in another week, week and a half, 2 weeks, whenever I come back. Okay, so they were not clear in the instructions, but I think that you were supposed to put drywall or cement board or something behind this. I knew this was a cheap shower kit. The whole thing was only like 650 bucks. That's the base, the walls, even the drain, and the glass surround that goes around it. The whole thing was like $650 to $700. So I knew it was going to be crazy cheap. And I also knew that a couple years down the line I probably would replace it. But for right now, I just wanted to have something. And I'm fine with the walls being that thin. It's like paper thin. But I wish they would have just said that you're supposed to put something behind it. Because here it is, 12 o'clock at night, and I'm in the middle of nowheres, and I don't have anything like that, and I need to get this shower set. And had I known that, I probably would have put some Go board behind it. That stuff is really good. Plus it's a little bit of insulation too. But it is what it is. We're just gonna move on. too bad. Came out better than I thought. It's not the strongest shower, but you can't beat the price. Alright, so here we are the next morning, and even with it being really cloudy and really dark, there's a lot of light in here from these skylights. But anyways, I got a lot more cans. I got 24 more cans of the Kraken. So I want to continue on and my goal is to get 2 inches on everything. So I need to first put an inch on this and then continue on. And what I like about this stuff is that it's not so violent when it comes out. It's not so intense. So you can kind of get away with less safety gear. You probably should still wear goggles. You probably should still wear a respirator, but I'm gonna do it with the windows open. I'm gonna stand back so it's not over top of my head. I also got this gun too, which points up so that you don't have to tilt the gun back so much. So it has been snowing on and off for the past 12 hours or so. It's not accumulating because the ground is about 36 degrees right now. But there was one point where it was blizzarding out. I absolutely can't wait until the first time we have a major snow here while we're here. First of all, I want to see how low of a flow I can go and still keep that on, because there's no reason to go 2 gallons a minute like you would normally have in the shower. I'd like it to be like a gallon a minute or a little bit less. With that rain head, you can save a lot of water because you don't need the pressure to shoot it out like you would if you had it on the side like a normal shower would be. So now it can just sort of trickle down. I've been able to get away with like a half a gallon a minute on those and still take a decent shower. So I don't think this thing's gonna go as low as a half a gallon a minute, but let's see how low it'll go so we don't have to waste a whole bunch of water. So the first thing I need to do is pump water from my well. If you guys watched the last video, you know I have a well right underneath of here. So I gotta pump that water into that storage tank first, and then we'll turn on that pump there and we'll get everything pressurized and we'll test everything out. So right now my well pump is DC, but I did get an AC to DC adapter. I just have to configure it, but for right now we're just going to do this. So first thing I do is turn on the UV light before I even start anything, and then I will run this well pump. So you can't even really hear it right now, but it's pumping a bunch of water into that tank. And when I tested this out last time, it came out really nice and clean, which is great. Alright, so we're about halfway full in the tank, and I can hear there's air in here because if you see, the water comes in, it goes up, and then it goes down again, so there's air trapped in here. but that's okay. That's not a big deal because this is only running just for a few minutes to fill up that tank, and that might only get run once or twice while we're here. The pump down in the well is not very fast, but it runs off of very little power, and it's a very small little submersible pump. And I think it only uses like 160 watts, so that's perfect for something like this. Because it doesn't need to build up any pressure, it just needs to flow some water. So that thing's about 3/4 of the way filled up. It's a 25-gallon tank. I think we're just gonna cut it off right there. That gives us enough to test it out. So now the real test is gonna be how well this pump does. Because that is something I'm not sure about. Oh, it caught primer right away. That's good. Alright, so the pump is on. It's really loud. Might have to check into something else, but we got hot water. Everything's flickering because the pump is on the circuit right now and it's drawing quite a bit. But this is actually, that's probably less than a gallon a minute, and it's still, the tankless is still on. That's really good. That's perfect. Probably turn it down a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, that's like, I don't know, that's definitely less than a gallon a minute, and that's still hot. That's awesome. Okay, so I downloaded the app for this, and it actually tells you the incoming temperature, the outgoing temperature, and the flow rate. And it takes about 0.6 gallons per minute for that thing to stay going. That's not too bad. 0.6 gallons, 0.7 gallons a minute, you can get a lot of shower out of 25 gallons with that. I could put a switch on it. I could come right off of here and bypass that other pump and use that pump down there. The only thing is I got to turn it on and off whenever I'm using it and not using it. I don't know. I'll figure out something. I might have to put a pressure tank in. I hate to do that though.
Not me. Not you.
Noah, this will be the first time that people see your new haircut. Your first haircut.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. No, I want to jump on it real quick. Again. No, you have to, once you jump on it, you have to let me jump on it. No. Whoa.
So like I think I previously mentioned here, this is going to be my little office space to work on my computer right underneath that skylight. I built it like that purposely so that I could have my computer desk right here and I could sit right there and do my YouTube work, my editing and stuff. So it's a perfect little spot, and I wanted that skylight right over top of it. So then that wall is going to come out to about here. So for right now, we're just going to have that bed right there, and Caden's bed is going to be right there. And then we're going to have a sofa bed downstairs. And you'll notice that I spray foamed the walls too. I decided that that would be a good idea up here. Just up here though. And you'll notice that I also did not spray foam that wall. That is because there's going to be an addition there. And so there's really no reason to even insulate that. But since I have some of that foam, I'll just use the foam to insulate it for now. That way it's a lot cheaper, even though it's going to get torn out later. I don't want to waste money on spray foam for that area. So this is a waterless trap, and basically what this does is doesn't allow sewer gases to come back up, which in this case we're not worried about because we have gray water, but it also doesn't let the cold air come back up. So you can see there's like a diaphragm in there. So you can kind of get an idea how that works. It's just got a long rubber piece in there that seals itself shut. So these are legal to use as a trap, and you can use them horizontal or vertical. And because this cabin is off-grid, it's obviously going to see freezing temperatures a lot when we're not here, so I don't want to have to empty the traps every time I leave. So I got a bunch of these so that all the fixtures have a trap but won't freeze, and I don't have to worry about emptying them. Alright, so I got everything all hooked up here, and this is kind of an S-trap the way that this is right now, and I may decide to put in a vent later, but for right now this works fine. And the main reason that you can't use an S-trap is because sometimes it will pull the water out of the trap, and then you'll have sewer gases going back into the house. But since this is gray water, I don't need to worry about that, so I don't think I need to worry about a vent either. I can always add a vent right here if I want to, but it's working fine, and we don't really need to follow plumbing codes, so I think we'll just leave it alone until it doesn't work, which I think it'll be fine. You can see the diaphragm is right there, so there's no cold air coming back in, and that pipe is just going outside right now. I still need to hook it into the actual dry well that I dug out a while ago. Also, I fixed all the issues with the pump cycling on and off. First of all, I added a water hammer arrestor, so that took care of some of it, and then I adjusted the pump so that it doesn't cycle on and off. So there's an adjustment on the pump to make it have bypass so that it doesn't just keep turning on and off. Instead, it has a bypass valve to bypass the water to keep the pump constantly going. So the pump is trying to make 40 or 50 psi, I can't remember which one. So as soon as it sees 40 or 50 psi, it shuts off. And it keeps going on and off like that. But when you have the bypass on, it never lets it see that 40 or 50 psi, so it just keeps the pump on, and it keeps the water just bypassing if you have it like a low flow like that. So that is like a million times better than it was before. And that's nice and hot. That's awesome. Nice clean water. That's like incredible. To have nice clean water, not so noisy, hot water. Everything about this is just, I'm loving it. It's awesome. You know, you can still hear the pump a little bit, but it is what it is. I'm much happier with that. So at this point we have like 2.5 hours of daylight left. I'm gonna go try to install the electric line going from the shed into here and try to run it into this panel, because right now we're running off an extension cord that's coming in from an inverter out there, and I was trying to wait till things dried up out there, but I don't think that's going to happen while we're here this time. It's just been raining the whole time. So at this point, I'm just going to scratch a little trench with the excavator from the side, and we're going to install some conduit, and we're going to install some 10-3 UF wire to go from here to the panel that I have inside of the shed. I'm gonna attempt to fill this in while the machine is warm. I don't know how well it's gonna go, but we'll see. You know, I know that was a mushy mess, that was a disaster, but I gotta be thankful because this whole time while we were building this and even doing the site work, we had nothing but good weather. Everything was dry the whole time. So I expected this going into this project from the beginning, but we didn't have it. So I'm very thankful that I got as far as I did before this set in. Because up here, this is pretty normal. But once you get things worked out and you get things dried up and drainage in, some stone in, then once you're settled in, it's not so bad. It's doing site work that's really the worst part. But I was fortunate enough to have good weather this whole time, so I'll take it. Flooded the driveway here, but I was gonna put some more stone on that anyways. So we gotta let this settle for probably a week or two at least, and then we can work on getting the porch installed. But for right now, I'm just happy to get that hole out of there and get that water out of there, and to get the water out of the hole. And I'm really happy to get that conduit in there because now I can set up my electric service, and I can also install my solar panels pretty soon too on the roof, which I needed that conduit in there because I'm gonna go straight up the side there with the conduit. see here. All right. It is so cool to walk in and just hit a switch, have some light in here. Let's fire this thing up. Let's see here. It says it's below freezing. Let's crank that baby up. Need to get that wood stove installed. I got it right there. But doing the chimney is going to take a while. Hopefully I'm going to do that this time. Not with any luck, it's going to be frozen. Alright, so yesterday I spent the entire day getting stuff ready, getting this machine out, plowing everything out, going to the store and getting some wood so I can make that platform, and doing other various things, and I didn't get anything done other than that. So today the goal is to put some solar panels on the roof. I wanted to put 6 panels here. These panels are pretty wide and not so tall, so I'm gonna put them in a landscape fashion. So there's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're gonna be laying down. And when you put them in landscape mode on a roof, you can actually do a railless system. You can kind of do a railless system if you put them vertical, but it's a lot easier if you lay them down horizontally. You can do a railless system where there's no rails and it just sits on the bracket itself. So that's what I chose to do. So these are 405 watt bifacial panels, and there's going to be 6 of them. So it's approximately a little over 2,400 watts or 2.4 kilowatts. So I set up that platform up there, which is what I would normally do when I used to do a lot of building and you didn't really want to get scaffolding set up, or the ground wasn't suitable for scaffolding like this, or you didn't have a lift. You would set up this. So that's just some angle pieces that you put on there with some planks going across, and it's very safe. And then I put a 2x4 on the edge so that I could put a ladder up there, and that catches the ladder so that I can walk up the roof on a ladder, because obviously you can't walk on that roof. But also I need to get that snow off the roof. Last night we got another 10 inches. So you can see that solar shed there's got quite the bit of snow on there, and that's not all the snow either. Some of that snow already fell off earlier on, but we got a lot of snow here. By the way, I ended up using hot water to get these tracks freed up. I brought a hose from inside and I just sprayed them down, and it only took 10 minutes and I had them freed up. So if you guys didn't catch that, there's adhesive on the bottom of this and it sticks to the roof and it seals the screws. So this is what they call an end clamp, and that goes on the bottom here. And this is what they call a mid clamp, and this goes in between. You can see the difference. This one's meant to catch 2 panels, this one's meant to catch 1. This also has a little rail on the side for you to attach wires or various different things. So to set these up, it's really easy. The first thing you do is put this on here, and this has little punch marks that bite into the frame of these solar panels. So as long as you're running these solar panels not in a straight line, as long as you have at least 2 of them, then this connects the ground from one to the other. So now all you have to do is ground one row and it grounds the other row at the same time. If you were using rails, you wouldn't have to ground anything but the last panel. But in this case, since we have 2 rows of 3, we need to just ground 1 row. So we need to jump that panel to this panel and this panel to the next panel, and then that one will attach to the ground going down, and then that's it, because these connect to each other. And it's because of these things. These actually bite into the frame and give it a good ground. But this is also what the panels rest on right here. So then you put this here, put a nut underneath, and then this is going to take a T30 bit and a 13mm for the nut. 13mm wrench. So you just leave them kind of somewhat loose. So now for the first row of panels, I'm just going to kind of tighten this up a little bit more. Probably too much. And now this is ready to set the panel on. So you take these 2 and you do that to it, and then you set the panel on it, and then you start tightening it up once. And once you put the mid clamps on, now you're ready to set the other panel on top of that. And because these are a flange nut, you can just sort of set it like that and then bring it around. It's probably better to start it by hand, but I'm in an awkward position right now. So now that's ready for a panel. But I'm gonna get all these set and then take my ladder away. So to terminate these wires coming from the solar panels, I know a lot of people do different things. Most people will go over the roof with some conduit or over this side. I really don't like the look of that. And there's not really a great product, but I just got one of these cheap like RV solar input type of things. And this should work pretty good. I'm gonna put some Lexel on the bottom, drill a hole in the roof, come through like that. It comes with 10 feet of number 10 PV wire on it so that it gets started. And then on the bottom, I'm just gonna come up with PVC conduit running down to a disconnect right there. This is gonna be my porch. So I don't need to go into metal conduit at all because there's no PVC on the roof, which as far as I know is against code. The only PVC is underneath the roof and it just goes straight down this trim board right here. It'll hit a disconnect right there and then continue down, and I have PVC buried under right about there going over to the shed. So I know this is kind of unconventional, but it seems like it'll work pretty good and it should follow code too. I don't know for sure, but I guess it's not the end of the world if I have to change something. Also, I have to do this before I put the panel on because the panel is actually going to cover this piece, which I like. I like that. So that looks pretty slick to me. So now I just need to find a clever way to transition from here to PVC. Okay, so I don't know, I was planning on this being all underneath the panel, but it just didn't work out like that. Underneath of that is inside the house, so I wanted to just shoot straight down the trim here, which that's perfectly in line with the trim, so I can just shoot down the center of the trim. But it leaves this exposed, which I don't know if it's against code to have exposed wires or not. I think it is. I don't know. I think we're gonna deal with it for a little while. When I put the addition on, maybe I'll make it all perfect, because there's gonna be actually another roof that kind of overlaps right here. So I'm gonna have to change things around a little bit anyways. So I think we'll kind of leave it the way it is and use it for now. And then when I put the addition on, we'll correct it if it needs correcting. These are UV resistant, so you may be able to have them exposed. I'm not sure. Hi. I said hi. What? No. Because I don't really have anything to do it with. No, I broke it. Alright, so I just got this wood stove. And it's not one of them really tiny wood stoves, but it's pretty small. And so right now I'm burning off all the paint and the chemicals on all these pipes before I can put it inside. But this one has secondary combustion, so it looks really cool at night and stuff. But I wanted one with a pretty big sight glass, and this one is very big compared to the stove. So right now I'm trying to install the rest of the system so that I can hopefully later tonight burn the stove. Okay.
Well, hang on. Oh, I'm stuck.
Hi.
It's the. Excuse me. Okay. Whatever you say.
Hi.
Whatever you say. Huh?
But the other ones weren't.
All right, that piece in the middle, I know it's sharp, so hang on. Yeah, isn't that what's hurting you? Okay, now, okay, that's it right there. All right, we're good. Okay. Well, that was very time consuming, but I got it done safely. So I still need to put the roof boot on, but I'm not going to do that tonight. So tomorrow I'll go up on the roof and put that on. And then I need to just add one more 3-foot section because I need to be 2 feet above the ridge. But man, talk about a close call. This thing needs 2 inches on both sides to combustible surfaces. So I have exactly 2 inches on both sides. And somehow it was exactly able to be centered between them. I have no idea how that worked out, but I am just so thankful that it did. This is something that I've been trying to figure out for months. Like, you can try to figure it out all ahead of time. Like, I've installed many chimneys before for wood stoves, and every one of them is different. This is definitely by far the hardest one to figure, because originally I really wanted it on this wall over here, but I also don't want the chimney coming out and up on the very bottom of the eave, because that's where all the snow is going to hit it the hardest. So originally I wanted to just, the easiest way was to just come up and do a 30 and offset the overhang, and then another 30 to make it go straight up. But then it needs to be above the ridge by the same amount, so nothing changes there. It would have been easier than going through this overhang, but I don't like it being on the bottom of that eave end. There's just a potential for a lot of snow to build up there. And there's still potential for some snow to build up here, but about 1/3 less. So yeah, I could have installed those snow cleats or whatever they're called so that the snow doesn't directly slide into it all of a sudden, but still, I just didn't really want it on the eave end like that. So on this end, my plan was, since I'm going to be putting an addition on here, I'm going to be coming 12 feet out this way and then 16 feet that way. So that's going to eventually be inside, and what I'm going to do is just build a chimney around it. Build like an enclosure around it to keep the 2-inch space. So eventually, once this addition is built, it's really easy. All I have to do is just build a box around there and keep my 2 inches. And then that'll be part of the overhang for the new roof that goes over there, which will be actually a little bit higher up. So we'll have to add like one more section. But I really wanted to make this like a long-term type of thing. I don't want to be reinstalling this whole chimney again sometime else. So getting it to fit inside of here, and then also getting it to fit there and through the roof, and just all the codes and clearances that you need for it was really not easy at all, but it worked out, and I'm really thankful for that. So right now I got the wood stove over here. It's been dying out for a while, so it's probably cool to the touch now. Yep, it certainly is. So that thing's ready to go inside, and we can start burning. Perfect. Tonight's our last night here for a few weeks, so I really wanted to burn this tonight. I mean, yeah, I could burn it during the day tomorrow, but it's just not the same. I want to have this thing at night. There's nothing like a wood burning stove burning at night, especially with the glass on the front. And even though I need to add another section on the top, I've seen many wood stoves that don't go up that high above the ridge. You're supposed to be 2 feet higher than anything within 10 feet from it. Okay, so I've never had so much luck on an installation of a wood stove. This is kind of crazy. Everything like perfectly fit. I didn't have to cut anything there. I didn't have to add anything there. Everything is factory. I don't even know what to say. It's just crazy. How is the height exactly right? And how is the length on that exactly right? I have no idea. I have no clue. It was just meant to be. So this calls for a 13-inch clearance on the side and a 13-inch clearance on the back. So because that's just a little too much for in here, it just makes it stick out too much. What I'm going to do is put hardy board on the wall or a piece of sheet metal spaced out from the wall 1 inch. And on the back I already have the 13 inches, so that's fine. But also you have to remember that just because the stove meets the clearances, that is single wall pipe, and that needs to be 18 inches from combustibles, and it also needs to be 18 inches up too. So you can do one of two things. You can either install a heat shield on the pipe itself facing the direction that it needs the clearance, or you can put something on the wall like sheet metal spaced out 1 inch or Duroc spaced out 1 inch. So I'm not exactly sure which one I'm going to do, but probably the heat shield for the pipe, and then obviously for the side of the stove, that I really have no option for. You can get a heat shield for the stove, but for this one I don't know if they even make one. So custom making a heat shield on the stove, and then it's fine on the sides. But if not, I'll just have to add some Duroc or hardy board or sheet metal on the side. All right, so I know. Everybody's gonna run their mouth. You can't use a 4x4, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you can. I got a building permit for this. This was all in the plans. This is only gonna have a 7-foot span from the deck to the roof. And then obviously you can see that little span is nothing. So I did the calculations a long time ago, and I think at that kind of span, I could get somewhere around 3,500 pounds per 4x4. So if you do the calculations for the snow load, I am more than good. And then also, everybody's going to run their mouth about putting that beam on the outside of this 4x4 and not notching it in, which is what you would use a 6x6 for. But this is the 21st century, and they do make metal brackets that you can put in that are ledger brackets. So that's what I'm going to do. There's absolutely no reason to notch that there and give it less strength. I'm going to keep the strength of the post going all the way through and just put those ledger brackets on. And also, you can put a few timber locks in there, and that is definitely not going anywhere. So don't let anybody fool you into you can't use a 4x4 and you can't put a ledger on there, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you can. It kind of depends on your area though, because if your local municipality doesn't let you, then you sort of had no choice. But as far as the codes go, you are allowed to do that as long as you use some sort of metal bracket underneath. Some places will actually let you just put like a 2x4 cleat underneath, which would be perfectly fine, because I got like at least a foot there to put a cleat underneath of both sides. But I just bought the metal brackets because I wasn't sure exactly how much space I had there. I knew I had enough for the metal bracket. I didn't know if I had enough for a cleat. If you put a cleat in there and then it's a small piece, it can split. So, but that's long enough. And you can also use maybe like engineered lumber or something. But also, I only got about 7 foot to the roof beam, and then that will get a post cap bracket. And that is not enough span with that little 9-foot span of roof. That is not enough to warrant going to a 6x6. A 6x6 would just look really weird on this. It's just not a big enough house for that. Now I get it, most of the time I will use a 6x6 on a bigger project, but this is not the place for that. Also, I'm using screws for every connection. I got the Simpson connector screws. Most of them are number 10, and that's what they call for, so that's what I'm going to use, and it's a lot easier and a lot quicker than using the nails. Plus you can take them out if you need to reposition something. So another thing I want to explain before I get going here, by code, unless you're on some really old version of the code, which most places are not, you can't attach to a cantilever, which is what that is right there. So I can't just attach right here with a ledger board. They don't let you do that. So 99% of people have probably never seen this before, but what I'm gonna do is actually attach to the girder that I built the cabin on. So that girder still has some capacity to it. So I'm gonna use up the rest of that capacity to hang this deck from. And the nice thing about that is I don't need flashing behind the ledger, and I don't need flashing on top of the ledger underneath the decking. So that saves that whole ordeal. Also, I don't need my tension brackets like you would normally need to go through the ledger and into the joist of the house. So there's 3 pretty substantial things that I don't need to do because of this. So basically I'm just going to attach the joist hangers right to that girder, which is pressure treated, and then they're going to go over and rest on top of this girder here. So this is not something that most people have ever seen before, but it works and it's up to code as far as I know. So we're going to go with it. It's going to be a little bit of a pain to get underneath there and attach all the hangers, but it is what it is. I really have no choice other than to put 3 other sauna tubes in there, and I was just not interested in doing that. Mainly because you'd have to dig right next to the cabin, which is always tedious and time consuming. Also, I would be digging right next to that other footing, and I just don't want to disturb anything Everything is good there. I just don't want to disturb it. So there was some capacity left in both the sonotubes and the girder that I'm using there. So we're just going to go with that. But just remember, if you're going to do something like this, you got to take into calculation the sonotubes as well as the girder, because if your girder's fine but your sonotubes aren't, then you're out of luck. And if your sonotubes are good but your girder isn't, then you can put another girder there. You could always put 1 or 2 more 2x10s there and lag bolt it to that one. And technically I think that should be all right. It's not really resting on the bracket, but I think you'd be fine if you did that. And I was considering doing that, just putting like 1 more 2x10 on there, but it's just not necessary. Also, if I really needed to, I could always add that later. That's not something that needs to happen right now. I can put it on the back side. So this is what I'm talking about with the hardware, the bracket that you put on. This is a post beam connection, specifically meant for ledgers. It's exterior rated for pressure treated and everything else. So this is what you want to use. I know it's a little bit of money to get this, but sometimes you kind of have no choice. But each one of these comes with 2. So I need 1 box for each connection. So if you want to make this look really good, they have these little bolt caps, and you just unscrew that, put your bolt through it, and then you can screw that back in, and it makes it look much more stout. That's a huge looking bolt head. Well, it's like a faux bolt head, but I don't really care what it looks like underneath there. Everything's going to be covered up, so I'm just going to use the hardware that they give me rather than waste time putting these in. They do absolutely nothing. I guess they could be used as a washer. It is a pretty thick washer, but I don't really need a washer. You can see the size of that head on there. It's got a built-in washer. Plus these are almost an 1/8 inch thick. So I don't need a washer. I'm just going to use it without it. Okay, so not only is this piece supporting this ledger with these 2 pretty substantial sized screws, but also this one is getting its support from this one, plus this one is going through the 2x8. So there's a lot of support there, and that's only one side of the beam. We're putting another part of the girder on the outside there, so there's another connection. So that's a really strong connection. So I'm just going to put the ones on the inside for now. The outside will be easy to get to because I'm only going with 1 foot of cantilever over that. So I can easily put those on when I get this finished up. But for now, to keep things moving, just put them on the inside. Also, I probably put 1 ledger lock on the top too, because this only goes about halfway up. So it's not going anywheres, but just in case, I'll just put 1 ledger lock in each top there.
That is. You are nuts, bro. That is freezing cold. That is freezing cold. Seriously. facade I built.
what that thing is over there, but it's pretty bright. Haven't seen that since 1989. Sure is a welcome sight for these things. Tired of running that generator. It's just snow every day, so I purposely use black panels to be able to melt the snow the fastest, but it just snows so much and there's just not enough sun to melt the snow fast enough. So when you got a foot of snow on it, it's not going to melt that fast. It snows a lot at night, and then in the morning you got a foot and a half of snow on it, and there's not much the sun is going to do regardless of what color it is. If it snows during the day and the sun's kind of out, it kind of melts it, but it's not very good at it. That's why we need to get this roof with some solar, and it's still not going to do great for the snow, but I think what I really have to do is do some vertical panels somewheres. I have to set up like 10 vertical panels just straight up and down, and then that'll be enough solar to at least keep my Wi-Fi and my cameras on and stuff. It's not going to do a whole lot, but because I also have a small little heater with a smart sensor in there. I'll show you guys that tomorrow. We're getting ready to leave tomorrow, and I got to hook up a bunch of stuff in there, so I'll show you guys all my setup, and I'm going to install some more stuff tomorrow. But for right now, I just want to get this roofing on here. So there's no point in really putting ice and water on here. Some towns will make you put ice and water because it's an outdoor space, it's not getting heated, so we're not going to use ice and water. But I do need to use underlayment. Hey,
what's going on?
What's going on?
I hear all this pounding and I don't see no truck in the driveway. I'm like, oh God.
Noah, breakfast is ready. Caden, come on.
No, this is good breakfast.
No, wait, this is actually good breakfast. Good.
Delicious. Bread. Or whatever it is in this muffin.
Huh?
I like the bread. The thing, that's the thing I like the most. Delicious. Then bread.
You cook sausage too?
Is there no bacon?
Yep.
Yummy, yummy sausage. And yummy. And
Wait, are you still playing the backroom game?
yeah. So that's the ball.
We're baboons and we have to run from the big baboon because the big baboon wants to kill you. But you can also get gear. I know, if you see coins on the ground, grab them. I mean, Lauren. I mean, I'll find it because you have your name tag.
She's just nervous.
It's a Zoe taco. Alright, so in my solar shed here, I'm trying to do some reorganizing, just quickly anyways. So, you guys saw me build this a while ago. This is only a 6x6 shed that I insulated, and it's been working out really well. So, what I have here is 3 server rack batteries, 48 volts, they're 100 amp hours each. So I have approximately 15 kilowatt hours, or just under that. And then also as a backup system, I have a 12 volt system that's a Renogy 2000 watt inverter, pure sine wave, with 1 server rack battery, and then 2 of these. These are 100 amp hour batteries. This is a 400 amp hour battery. So I have actually 2 more of these too. So actually for my 12 volt system, I actually have 10 kilowatt hours as a backup. I don't really use it, but I keep it up here and I keep it charged just in case something happens with this system and that inverter. I've been running this inverter for the whole house, and it pushes power into this panel, which goes underground into the tiny cabin. And when I'm away, I have this little 48-volt inverter, and this is only a 500-watt inverter, but that's fine because all it does is keep my internet on, and then it keeps this on too. So this is a temperature sensor. It's a smart temperature sensor, and there's actually a little cord that goes down, and there's a temperature sensor down there, and this is like the brains of it. And basically you can set this up to heat or cool or both, and it just has this little plug in here. You plug this unit in here, which I have plugged in to this, so this powers this temperature sensor along with a small 200-watt heater. And I also have one of those seedling mats underneath of these batteries, and so if this senses, I have it set for 36 degrees here, so when the temperature gets down to 36 degrees, it kicks on this heater here along with that seedling mat there, and it will heat this place up to 37 degrees, and then it shuts off. And that also powers my internet here at the same time. So 500 watts is more than enough to power that heater and my internet. So I keep this on when I'm gone because this has a very, very small amount of power for standby. If I was to leave this on all the time, it's got this big fan in it, and I think it uses like 40 watts or something like that. It's somewhere around there. It could be a little bit more. This thing uses like a watt. I don't know how much it is, but it's like drastically less than this. There's no point in running this thing when I can just have this on. So when you're talking about not having solar for a week at a time, every little bit counts. So having this with a lot less usage on standby is really nice. So right now the solar panels on my roof are pushing power into this. This is good for 150 volts max and 70 amps max. So if you're running it with a 48 volt system, it's good for I think 4,000 watts. That's been working really good for the set of panels that's on my roof. I'm also going to add some panels on the porch roof, and all together I'm going to be somewhere around 5,000 watts. 5,200 I think is what it's going to be. So I might need to get another one of those, or I actually have a smaller one. Maybe I can just use that for the porch. But for right now, I don't have those installed yet. I have the panels. I'm trying to take a break from this crazy weather stuff. So I also have the line run from there to here, so that literally all I have to do is install the panels and run the line into the shutoff switch, which is on the porch. So from there, I have separate wires going into here, 10 gauge. So that's all ready to go. So right now, today is the bar on the left. I've already produced 2 kilowatts, which is not a whole lot, but it's more than I've been producing for a while. I was peaking out somewhere around 2,000 watts. I got 2,400 watts of panels, but the angle isn't great right now. But every little bit counts. If you can produce 5 kilowatt hours a day, then hey, that's 5 kilowatt hours. That's like running the generator for an hour and a half. So the reason I'm in here tidying things up and trying to reorganize a little bit is so that I can move forward with being able to control this system from home. So right now I can't control this system. I can't see what's going on when I'm at home, and it's really bugging me because I really want to know how I'm doing with the solar and how much battery I have and stuff. Because the whole reason why I have a heater in here is because you can't charge these batteries when it's below 32 degrees. So I just want to know when I'm dangerously low on battery, because 15 kilowatt hours, if you have no sun for 2 weeks, could be depleted, even just running the internet, especially if you're heating the place too. So I can see that solar controller with a Bluetooth device, but that's only within like 20 feet from here. So when I go home, it doesn't work. So Victron makes sort of like a hub that you can plug all this stuff into and you can see what's going on remotely. It's called the Servo GX. They have all different ones that you can get that connect to the Wi-Fi or Ethernet cord or whatever, but they're crazy expensive. So what I did instead, and some people are probably gonna smile right now when they hear this, because if you're kind of a nerd into this solar stuff, then this is really kind of cool. So it's like $500 to $600 to get the things to be able to read all your parameters remotely. So what I did is just bought a Raspberry Pi. This is a Raspberry Pi 4. This is, if you don't know what this is, I didn't until recently either. This is a microcomputer. So I have 4 USB ports. 2 of them are the fast kind, 2 of them are the regular. I think that's USB 3.0. It's got an Ethernet port. It's got an audio plug. It's got 2 micro HDMI ports. It's got a USB-C, and it's got an SD card, and it's even got a little tiny fan in it. So what this does is allow you to run the program that Victron uses, which is the Venus, and you can plug all of your devices into the USB ports on here, and then this also has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, but you can connect through the Wi-Fi and connect to all your devices to see what's going on remotely without having to buy $500 to $600 worth of equipment. This was $70 on Amazon, and basically with this and an SD card, which I just have like an 8 gigabyte SD card, it's like $5 for that, you can do the same thing that you were able to do with the $500 to $600 equipment. It just takes a few minutes of programming this in. So you basically put the program on this SD card, and that's the operating system for this. So the operating system for this Raspberry Pi is the Venus from Victron, and Victron actually supplies you with the files that you need to do this. So this is the Raspberry Pi 4B, which I didn't realize wasn't really compatible with everything, but I made it work with, I think, like a little bit older of a program or something. I got it to work. I don't know how, but so to go along with that Raspberry Pi, you don't need this, but it makes it a little bit easier. I just bought this little 7-inch touchscreen for like $35, I think it was, with free shipping. So basically what you do is power this with a USB-C port or plug. That powers the Raspberry Pi from just 120 volts, which you could also power that straight off of whatever, 48 volts, 12 volts, whatever you want, down to I think 5 volts really. And this comes with a little switch to turn it on. So that powers that. So I'll probably find a more permanent place for it, but for right now I think just right here is fine. So the Raspberry Pi goes there. We'll just put the touchscreen right here just for now. So you actually power the touchscreen from the Raspberry Pi. So we'll plug this in here. So now this touchscreen has a real HDMI port on it. So they give you this little adapter here to go from a real HDMI to a micro HDMI. Plug that into the Pi. So I already pre-programmed this before I came up, just because I didn't really want to waste a lot of time trying to figure it out. So, there we go. So I just need to program program the Wi-Fi because I had it programmed to my other Wi-Fi. Okay, so for some reason I could not get that to connect to my Wi-Fi. I don't know why. I don't want to mess with it though. I have an Ethernet cord. I just ran that over. It's not very long, so I can't loop it around. It's kind of in the way, but at this point it is what it is. The Ethernet immediately connected. So now we can start connecting our devices. I'm going to start with that solar controller right there, plugging it in. Luckily I have a long enough cord to plug it from there to there. I can also plug in this inverter from here to here, and I also am going to install a smart shunt. I'll do that last. That gives me probably more information than anything as far as ingoing and outgoing power. That will really tell me my state of charge on the batteries. But we'll start off with the solar controller. That's nice and easy to hook up. That just has one of these little ends here, and almost every Victron device has this plug in it, and that's to kind of plug it into the home base, which is the Raspberry Pi. So just like that, we now can see what we're putting into the battery. We can also see the voltage of the battery and how many amps is coming in. You can see more information too by going on the app. This doesn't really tell you a whole lot here, but the part that I care about is being able to log in from a PC or my phone and just really see all the parameters that I need to see. So that tells us how much power we're pulling from that inverter, which is basically right now powering this Raspberry Pi setup with this screen, as well as my internet. It's also powering this, but this isn't really doing anything. It is on, so it's probably wasting a little bit of power, but it's not like it's running that little tiny space heater right now. Yeah, we're at 96%. So let's get that smart shunt installed. And anybody that knows anything about solar knows that these are pretty important. Basically, you hook up the negative lead from the battery to this end, and then everything beyond the battery you hook up to this end, and that way it tracks how much power is going out and coming back into your batteries. And based off those calculations, it will tell you how much power you have left. So this is good for up to 500 amps, which I guess if you were using it for a 12 volt system, 500 amps would be useful, but 100 amps is all we need. 100 amps times 48 volts, that's roughly 5,000 watts, and that's only a 3,000 watt inverter, so that's more than good enough. But I am going to add another one of these. I have one. I just don't see the need to install it. I don't need that much power. This is 3,000 watts. I don't need 6,000 watts. I haven't found a need for it yet in the tiny cabin. If I did, I'd have it installed, because it's here. I can install it. It's just I have no use for it. But eventually, maybe we'll need it. So then we'll be running 200 amps, but this is still good for 500 amps, so it doesn't matter. And there's that little port right there too. So you also plug in this positive lead just to give this thing power. So I don't have a great setup with my bus bars right now. Everything is kind of spaghetti, but it kind of is what it is. I'll figure this all out one day, but for right now I don't have a lot of time. So this is the lead that's going to the inverter. Well, the bigger inverter anyways. So that's going to go to the shunt. We're going to go to the shunt from this bus bar. Alright, so now I can hook up my communication cable. I can power everything back up. Alright, so we got 95% state of charge. That's our voltage, that's how many amps we're pulling, that is how many watts we're pulling, and I'm not getting much solar right now. I think because the battery is so topped off that it's kind of putting it on a float charge right now. And then that is our AC loads on the small inverter. I need to remember that. That one is all together, and that one's on a small inverter. The big inverter is a different brand, so that doesn't really connect with it, but that's the point of the smart shunt, because I don't really need that to tell me my state of charge or anything else. Which you can also hook a Raspberry Pi to this, because it has an online program that you can use for it, but I'm only going to have this on when I'm here, so I don't know if there's a sense in doing that. I'd like eventually to be able to hook it up so I can see it from inside, but I think I need another Raspberry Pi to do that, because I had to load the Venus onto this Raspberry Pi, so I don't think I can load two different operating systems on it. I don't know if there's a way. If you guys know of a way to do that with one Raspberry Pi, that'd be great. But I think I have to get another one to do that, because this has a Wi-Fi program, but it's absolutely the worst thing. It's like using DOS. Alright guys, well, like I said in the last video, we can go on forever and ever with these videos, but eventually I got to break them up at some point, so I think we got a lot done. So we got 2400 watts of solar on the roof, we got a porch, a wood stove, all working plumbing, we got everything you need basically. There's really not much I'm missing right now to come up here. It's actually very enjoyable to come up here now. So got the solar shed, everything's all dialed in there. The only thing I really got to do is install some outside lights and some other electrical stuff, and then I actually got to get an electrical inspection. But we got pretty much what we need for now. We could be up here indefinitely and not have a problem at all. I got to work on getting the glow plugs to work in this machine, or grid heater, or whatever it has. I don't know exactly, but I know it has one of them. It's just not working right now, and I know that would make it start a lot easier. But the next time we come up, I'm definitely gonna bring some snowmobiles. I'm gonna buy a pair of them, and then we're gonna bring them up and have some fun. There's still a lot of work to be done here, but there's no reason why we can't have fun in the meantime or at the same time. So last night was the coldest that I've ever seen it up here while I was here. It was -3, and right now it's still probably about 5 degrees Fahrenheit, so still very cold. But the wood stove held up very well. I ran a diesel heater just for a few minutes in the morning just to take the chill off, but for the most part that wood stove did everything that it was supposed to, and it heated everything very well. So we got to get going out of here, and I got to get the camper pulled out of the snow, bring that home. So we got a lot of work ahead of us, but we will be back up after Christmas, so we will see you on that video.